It sounds like an old country song because it's like my dog died, I lost my job, I lost my car, I lost my house, like a series of things in like 3 months. Growing up for me, I saw like America Ferrera on TV. I didn't see a lot of girls that looked like me on TV and around me. But now we're in this era where it's like kind of cool to be big. Although admittedly, it's kind of funny when you see some of the businesses that were like, we're never going to do this. And they come forward and they're like, okay, fine, we're going to do this. And we're like, yeah, because you're going bankrupt.
Welcome to the 5th episode of the Tokin podcast with Asante and
Brian.
I can't believe we're literally on our 5th episode. It's so crazy, and we're so thankful that everybody has been coming and joining this podcast.
Yes, it's been so exciting. Just the past few episodes, just like improving on just like the whole interview process and meeting all these new people. Today we have Aby Deal, whose TikTok name is @Aby in real life. Currently, she is at about 220,000 followers across Instagram and TikTok, and Aby Deal lives in Florida.
Brian, I'm really excited, and Aby, I'm so excited because we have someone who is all about body positivity and mental health. Let me just go down the list of all the things that Aby does. So she was interviewed and featured in an influential article. She has her own podcast called the Curvy Chat podcast, which is the first time we have someone that has her own podcast on this podcast.
It's a landmark event.
She is also the creator of Curvy Confidence events, which are plus size events in northern central Florida that promote body positivity and confidence. And also, before we get started, I just want to put out a little trigger warning for this episode. We're going to be discussing a lot of like topics about body image and stuff like that. So if this like triggers you in any way, I recommend like maybe not watching this specific episode. I want to start off by saying how me and Aby know each other. I'm not exactly sure if you followed me first or I followed you first, but we became mutuals on TikTok. And then we experienced something with Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. And Aby, can you like just explain that whole situation? Because that's how we kind of like knew each other.
Yeah, no, that was so crazy. Like, you're scrolling through your For You page, and I think you popped up and explaining that there was a contest. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Like, I never win anything, but let's try. So I go over to Twitter, and it was like an influential women contest. Basically, they were giving away $500 to just at random. And you just had to post either a photo or a video or something. So I posted the TikTok that I did where I was actually dancing to that song and tagged, and it started to blow up actually super negatively initially. But that kind of worked for me because it brought it to the top of their comments, and I ended up winning. So I went back and commented and was like, oh my God, I won. Like, I had no idea. I wouldn't have even known that contest existed if I hadn't seen your video.
How much did you end up winning?
$500. They cashed that day. I was sitting at my desk like, no way.
Yeah, and I remember DMing you when you posted about it, and I was like, oh my God, Aby, like, I can't believe like this actually, like, you got it. Like, I'm so happy. I was so happy when you got it. That's super
yeah,
cool.
It was so cool.
So for those who might not know like exactly what a body positive influencer is, how would you define that in your own words?
I would say that it's somebody who has at some point typically struggled with body image or self-esteem, who has typically come into some sort of journey of self-love and wanting to share that energy with other people is really what it comes down to. Body positivity is the idea that you can love yourself at every phase of your journey, whether you're a size 26 or a size 2, regardless of what your skin looks like, if you have a skin issue or male, female, non-binary, it's really encompasses everybody. Body positivity has no real limitation to who can be body positive.
I feel like your content is just so important because it gives me so much hope and like confidence in myself. I've known so many people who have personally struggled with their bodies. I have a family member who actually has body dysmorphia, and they never are satisfied with the way that their body looks despite excessively working out and like fasting, and I personally struggle with my own body image. And this is why this episode and conversation is extremely important. I feel like as a man, especially as a gay man in gay culture, to get guys, you generally have to have like a muscular body, you know what I mean? And that I feel like for me, like I've grown up really, really like skinny, and like even in a weird way, like I do like get body shamed for like being skinny as a male. Because of like the social, just society, how they expect males to be like muscular, like that's like not your ideal body, right? And for women, it's like the ideal body type would be like skinny, and like that's like overemphasized in like beauty and stuff like that. When you were growing up, was there any point in your life where you kind of felt like you weren't confident in your body? Because I wasn't. I had so many moments in time, but I've learned to appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole body positive journey for me actually started about 3 years ago. There were times in my life where I feel like I would kind of tap into that, like when you're around your friends or in your comfort zone with your family. But for the most part, I would say probably most of my adult life. And I mean, even in middle and high school, like I was teased. I've always been a bigger girl. It seemed so much worse in my head. So I've struggled with my body image probably most of my life, more specifically as an adult though. When I first turned 18, 19, 20, yo-yo dieting, crash dieting, constantly trying to fit into this box that, society tells you have to look like this perfect image. And so that's exactly why when I kind of had this breakthrough moment 3 years ago, I had gone to an event that was in Las Vegas, and it was celebrating plus size women. And I had never been to anything like that before that was specifically for plus size women. And I saw all of these beautiful women in this room and wearing, tight dresses, shorts and outfits without cardigans, where I showed up to that event with leggings, a shirt with a tank top underneath, and then a cardigan over it. Like I was so layered up compared to how I dress now. And it wasn't because that was the style or because that's what I like to wear. It was because I wasn't confident in who I was. And I didn't feel confident enough to be able to wear the outfit the way that I wanted to wear it, because I was worried what people were going to think. Oh, her arms, her legs, that whole concept. So the body positive thing is still fairly new for me. And that's kind of why my platform has grown the way that it has over the last couple of years, because I'm still kind of figuring out what I'm doing with it,
I remember watching this YouTube video that Jubilee posted. And in the episode, it talked about how like a lot of men particularly too, like rarely open up and honestly talk about their bodies and some of the insecurities with their bodies. For me, I like to talk about my body with the people that I'm comfortable with and give myself like daily like positive affirmations about my body, and it's really helped me like be confident in my body. What do you do like to stay like body positive?
Yeah, self affirmations are great. Actually, I got into I think the thing that started for me, and at least with my own experience, was I kind of feel like I used certain things as a safety net. So I kind of started to take those things away when I was beginning my body positive journey. After that event, like the cardigans, I was like, let's see how this looks without a cardigan. You just force yourself to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. And sometimes I would do it around the house first. I would do it around my friends, and then I would wear it out to like a concert or a comedy show. And then of course I'm like psyching myself out the whole time, but in my head, I had to keep reminding myself, self-talk is so important. There have been times even recently when I wore a 2-piece bathing suit on the beach in Jacksonville. I was psyching myself out as I was walking down the water, and I'm like, there's no reason I don't get to look like this and wear what I want to wear. There's nothing in my head. Like, you look good, feel good, like hyping yourself up. Yeah. So I think that's the main thing. So I love that you use self-affirmations. I think it's so important, because it's kind of like that whole tricking your mind into like, not even tricking it, but like believing it, really truly believing what you're saying.
And I feel like after a while, like you really, really start to see yourself in that light after saying like,
totally.
I love myself, like I love my body. Like for me, it just personally has helped, and like it's cool to see that you've done the same thing too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
On top of being like a body positive influencer, you're also like an advocate for like mental health. When did you start realizing the importance of mental health? I
don't feel like I really understood it until depression really hit me, which was last year. A series of events that happened in Las Vegas when I was living there that really just kind of, it's like, it sounds like an old country song, because it's like my dog died, I lost my job, I lost my car, I lost my house, like a series of things in like 3 months. And when you're, spend most of your adult life having this independence, you have a great job, you have a roof over your head, and all of these things around you, and all of a sudden you lose everything that feels like home and a part of your life. Like, it was a very shocking realization for me. And then unfortunately, where I was living in Las Vegas, it was almost like I had a lot of people around me who wanted to be there when the parties were there and the events were there, but nobody who was truly in my corner physically when I was there. And I think that reality hit me so hard that it really forced me to confront mental health. And I knew that something had to change, and I knew that I needed to talk about it. And truthfully, with my platform at that time, when I relocated to Florida to spend time with my family and kind of hit the reset button on my life, I took a step back from my platform because I didn't know what to say yet. I didn't know how to word it. I knew I wanted to be transparent in how I was feeling because people can tell when you're unhappy, and I didn't want to be fake on my platform. I think it's very important to be transparent with what you're feeling. What I was not expecting was that when I did finally talk about what I was experiencing, what I was going through with my depression and my mental health, was how many people messaged me. A lot of guys messaged me and were like, I noticed, I knew something was going on. Like, I've been going through the same thing. Or they said that they could relate to the struggle, and they would check in on me. And it was like I had this online community around me that was almost there for me more than some of the people who were physically there in the location I was at in Las Vegas. Mental health has become a very open subject for me. I've experienced so much support and love from my community since I began to talk about my own experiences, and also been able to help a lot of people find resources themselves. So it's been really rewarding.
I feel the same way, especially when you're talking about like an online community. For me personally, like I was closeted my whole entire life, and then I downloaded a TikTok, and a few months later, like, I felt comfortable enough to like come out on the app. Because of like the online community and like the way that people just like accept me for me, like online, more than like my own home state, where I'm from sometimes. Yeah. And I think that it's really cool when people actually like reach out to you and like they're like, hey, like I relate to you, like I've gone through this, and like it's like it's real, like, and it feels really, really good. I definitely like can understand that.
On a bit more like a negative note, unfortunately, with like the online community, I'm sure as someone who is like body positive and plus size, there's going to be people out there with mean and inappropriate comments. Anybody outside the norm, unfortunately, that's just what's going to happen.
Yep.
So how do you deal with these type of comments? Like, what is your advice for anybody who is, experiencing very similar things?
To be totally honest, you really have to try to like separate yourself from the comments, because I'm a very sensitive person. I'm a very emotional person, and I carry those things with me. So I struggled significantly. So I would say that initially, my strategy, I guess, would be to have, have the keyboard warrior response and argue with people. But you realize very quickly when you do that, sometimes I think that you're expelling energy that really just isn't going to go anywhere, unfortunately. Some people just want to be heard. They just want to say something negative to be negative. Sometimes it's just a kid behind a keyboard with a profile picture that's like an anime character or something. It's not, you can't take everything personally, but I also understand the reality of how hard that is to do for some people. Being one of those people, I totally get it. So my biggest thing would be to not be afraid to take breaks when you need it. I think it's different for everybody. Some people are okay with having the whole keyboard warrior argument back and forth. And, if that's what makes you feel better at the end of the day, then that's how you should respond. I'm very pro advocate of just blocking, deleting, and moving on at this point, because I really just sitting there and arguing with people back and forth all day. I've got other things I need to do.
I think we all individually like deal with it, in our own ways. And
for sure,
I usually just block people, to be honest.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm feeling a little sassy though, and I'm like, I'm going to troll this person back. Yeah. Like, it depends on the mood that I'm in. 90% of the time it's block and delete, but occasionally I'm like, no, I'm going to have fun with this one.
Yeah, let me just make a video with the comment, huh? No.
Yeah, totally. Like, and snarky response.
Okay, on a brighter note, you are the creator of Curvy Confidence Events. Walk us through what would happen, like, if me and Brian were to, like, kind of go to this event?
Obviously, with COVID, it's been a little weird. But what we've really been trying to do, what I did in Las Vegas was I hosted a body positive pool party. And what I loved about that was that I had a very diverse crowd. So for one, you would see a very diverse crowd in ages. I had people who were, I think, fresh. I mean, it was 21 up, obviously, because there was alcohol involved. So I had a couple vendors come and set up shop there that were body positive clothing lines. So what I've tried to focus in on with events is creating kind of a smaller community, a sense of community here in Gainesville specifically, because I just moved here in March. So it's given me kind of a unique opportunity to really connect with people on a more personal level.
That's super cool. That sounds so cool, and I would probably definitely like want to go. Just that I'm from California.
Right? Yeah.
Because I feel like you really oftentimes like you don't like really have the opportunity to be like a part of things like that. So I think that it's so unique and it's so like cool, and I hope that becomes like just a norm, you know, like, you know, let's just go and be proud of like how we look and who we are, you know?
Yeah, totally. And it's, you know, what's really interesting too is that one of the things that I've seen is I've had people message me specifically in this area in Gainesville who were like, I'm not a big girl. Like, I mean, can guys come? Like, I'm not a big girl. Like, and I'm like, body positivity is for everybody. Like, I really try to sell that, you know, that idea, because I did go to those events in Las Vegas and they were catered specifically to plus size women. And there are events that are catered to plus size men and things like that. But I just really wanted a space for everyone to feel comfortable, because unfortunately the reality is the world isn't set up that way, right? So if we can at least create one safe space for a couple hours, you know, a couple times a month, for people to just feel super supported and like they can be themselves, like that's my goal. I love connecting with people on that level. And I've had people message me. Sometimes it'll surprise me too. And it's kind of almost a little scary, because you're like, I'm not a professional, you know, but like, I really try to preface that, especially when it comes to mental health. I'm like, hey, I can tell you what's worked for me, but like, here are some resources. But I love just hearing other people's stories and feeling that they have a safe space within my platform to talk about something. Because I've had people message me before. A teenage girl messaged me and said that her friends were making fun of her. She sent me an email and was messaging me back and forth like, you know, like, how did you handle things like this? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, my heart, like something like that. I'm like, if I had somebody that I felt comfortable enough to reach out to at that age, like how different my, you know, how that might've felt for me. So being able to have that opportunity is really cool. And also just being a part of another form of representation, I think, is growing up for me. I saw like America Ferrera on TV. I didn't see a lot of girls that looked like me on TV and around me. But now we're in this era where it's like kind of cool to be big, like not cool, but like plus size and body positive, like Lizzo, you know, Queen. And so all these people paving the way, and it's been so inspiring. So to be a part of that it's such a neat opportunity for me.
That's really, really cool. And when you brought up Lizzo, I literally just remembered Rihanna's new campaign for Raftery. That was like so cool to watch and like just see like all the different shades, all the different shapes, the sizes. And I feel like we're like moving in an era of time where like we want brands, we want like businesses, companies to like be inclusive. You know what I mean? Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially this year, it's like representation is so important on so many levels, and we see that in a variety of movements. So it's awesome to see more businesses getting on board. Although admittedly, it's kind of funny when you see some of the businesses that were like, we're never going to do this. And they come forward and they're like, okay, fine, we're going to do this. And we're like, yeah, because you're going bankrupt.
I was just going to wrap it up by asking you, where can people find you on social media? Your Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, anything else you want to shout out?
Yeah, absolutely. My main one is Instagram, which is Aby in real life. And then TikTok, same handle. I do have a website and I kind of cross post things sometimes. But for the most part, those are the main two. And then on Facebook, I do have a Curvy Confidence event Facebook group that people can join. And that's kind of a cool area because not only do we post about events, but we also have an opportunity to connect with people. So if you're not in the area and you want to just stay up to date on events, we talk about them in that group. Some people will post little comments and say, hey, I'm new here and I'm from so-and-so, like, and just connect and meet new people.
Aby, it was such a pleasure having you on the podcast. We're super, super excited to have you here. And thank you so much for sharing your story. We really appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This was so fun.